Okay, good morning, everyone, and you're very welcome to this morning's Coffee Microcaps Morning Meeting. For anybody who is joining us for the first time, my name is Mark Tobin. I'm the founder of Coffee Microcaps, and I'm delighted to say we've got a results webinar for us this morning. A little bit out of, let's say, normal reporting, but such is the New Zealand financial year end. I would like to give a special mention to RAS Research as a Service, our online and virtual event sponsor here at Coffee Microcaps. If you are looking for coverage of some microcap, small cap names, please do check out their website. Quick compliance and disclaimer slide, and a welcome to our friends from ASIC if they're joining us this morning. Yeah, for anybody who is joining us, our kind of standard companies you will see presenting on here at any of our events are capped under 300 million. That's our kind of definition of a microcap, generally in revenue and approaching cash flow break even, or indeed are already profitable. We tend not to have companies from the resources and biotech sector. That kind of second criteria knocks out a lot of them. But what I call then everything else, I call industrial microcaps, and that spans then every other sector from healthcare as we got this morning, but also financial services, professional services, retail, basically everything else in the microcap end of the market. So this morning's event follow pretty much as normal. We've got one company presenting 30 minutes, 20 minutes for the preso. We might run a little bit over as it is a results presentation. There's a lot to get through in the deck. 10 minutes of Q&A. If you do have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box rather than the chat function. Just makes it easier for me to kind of moderate the questions at the end. Please note the webinar is being recorded and it'll be posted on the Coffee Microcaps YouTube channel on Monday. And you can get all our previous events on there as well. You can follow us pretty much on all the socials. Twitter's kind of our main one. YouTube, as I said, for the recording of this. And all our previous ones, we've done well over 200 events now at this stage. LinkedIn, you can get us there. And I do write a free monthly newsletter, which will also be going out early next week, either Monday or Tuesday, which you can get on the Substack newsletter platform. And I am delighted to welcome a new company here to Coffee Microcaps. We are joined all the way from across the Tasman with Brian Ward, CEO of Aroa Biosurgery. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you for having me here.
It's great to have you. Brian, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then I'll just ask you if you can share your results deck. I will let you know once I can see it up on screen here. Yeah, it's just loading now, Brian. Yeah, I can see the cover slide now, Brian. You can take it away whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. And welcome to people joining the webinar. So I'm going to just give a summary, as Mark said, of our results and then take questions at the end. So just in terms of the contents, quick overview of Aroa. I'll talk through our financials, then operations, our strategy, and then the outlook for the coming year. So what we're focused on is unlocking regenerative healing for everyone. So there's a class of products that increase the rate of healing for patients that have large complex wounds. The challenge is that they're incredibly expensive and most patients don't have access to this technology. So what Aroa has done is developed a technology that brings this technology to many more people. We can deliver world-leading outcomes in terms of the rate and quality of healing, provide unmatched value to hospitals, and also have widespread impact. So the technology works very well across a very wide range of procedures. So in terms of Aroa, we're a well-established high-growth soft tissue regeneration company. We sell 4 families of products in the US, predominantly to hospitals. All of the products are based on our AROA ECM platform. This is the platform that we use to design both existing products but also line extensions. The total addressable market for our products in the US alone is in excess of $3 billion. We sell through two different channels. Our own direct sales team, we have a team of 50 direct sales representatives, and then we also sell through a partner, TELA Bio, products for hernia and breast reconstruction. The technology is well established. We've treated over 7 million patient treatments with this technology in a range of different procedures. There's 100 peer-reviewed publications based on this technology, so it's very well established and very well validated clinically. Outside of the US, we have regulatory approvals in 50 countries. We're selling in 15 or so through local distributors at the moment. 95% of our sales are in the US. That's where our commercial efforts are focused. We typically work with local distributors in other parts of the world. We also have been developing a second technology platform, our Enivo tissue apposition platform, and I'll talk briefly about that later in the presentation. All up, we're about 270 people, 90 based in the US. So that's essentially our commercial team, medical affairs, customer service, distribution, marketing, a marketing function there. And then the balance of the team is based in Auckland in New Zealand. Just in terms of the full year results, full year total revenue, $84.7 million, gross margin 86%, with a normalized EBITDA of $4.2 million. So this is the first time that we've been profitable since we listed on the ASX. And we see that profitability and total revenue continuing to grow now. We have a cash balance of $22 million. So we're well capitalized. If you look at where sales are coming from, if you look at the chart there on the left, total product revenue to Aroa. So the orange bars show the products that we sell directly in our own right. So the large dark green bars there are our Myriad product. That's really the product that's driving growth, growing at over 38% a year. Our Endoform product is pretty flat in terms of sales. We're not really putting any effort into that in terms of commercialization. The grey bars show the revenue that comes to us through our partnership with TELA Bio. So these are the sales, our share of revenue for the hernia and breast recon products. So as you can see here, over $80 million in sales NZ. And if you look at the chart on the right there, the total sales for products that we manufacture now in the US is getting close to $100 million US. Just in terms of sales metrics, you can see that our number of accounts has increased steadily over the last 4 years. We're now in over 200 accounts in the US. This is predominantly in hospitals, and the sales per account is increasing. We have a team of 50 in the US, so we haven't stepped that up dramatically in the last year. We're very much focused on improving sales productivity and reducing the time for those sales reps to ramp up. And so we're incrementally increasing our sales team as we improve those sales metrics. In terms of sort of half on half splits for the year. So you'll see that the second half of the year, revenue was up significantly on the first half. From operating expense perspective, small decrease in the second half of the year, but overall, EBITDA $4.2 million, and sorry, in the second half of the year, obviously a bigger EBITDA profit. So first half of the year, less profitable. Second half of the year, considerably more profitable on the back of higher sales. So we're sort of seeing a trend now towards greater profitability. On the cash flow side, you can see in the second half of the year, obviously operating cash flow improving, and overall being cash flow positive for total net cash flow at the end of the year as well. So not only becoming profitable, but also cash flow positive on an operating basis, and cash flow positive on a net operating cash flow basis as well. The investment in investing activities has essentially been into extra manufacturing capacity, and we see that starting to level out now. terms of use of funds, most of our investment or expenses are going into sales and marketing expenses, commercialization in the US. Our development expenses are decreasing, so going from 20% of revenue 3 years ago to 13% of revenue this year. R&D investment is into line extensions for our existing products, and also an investment into our Nevo new technology platform. Clinical expenses are relatively flat. So this is expenses into clinical studies to produce data to help with marketing of our products. And cash on hand, now down to just over $20 million. But obviously now in a cash flow positive situation. So in terms of operations, Myriad is the main driver of sales for Aroa. We're focused on large, complex wounds. These are typically in trauma, so car accidents, motorcycle accidents, gunshot wounds. So all of the nasty stuff that happens in trauma. So our material is used to patch these holes in people and help regenerate that tissue. Also lower limb salvage. So these are people that typically have wounds in their extremities that aren't healing and require soft tissue reconstruction procedures. What we're seeing with Myriad is we are beginning to have very compelling data about the success of this technology. And so we published this year a study in lower limb salvage. This is one of the largest studies that's been published in the clinical literature, looking at inpatient reconstruction. What we showed in that is rapid tissue regeneration, no complications with infection, and typically healing with a single application with our technology. So we're starting to see this across a wide range of different procedures. That's quite different from other technologies that are out there. So typically you don't see the same rate of healing. You have a higher rate of complications, and often you need multiple applications to heal these particular wounds. We're also seeing with Myriad that it works very well across a wide range of different types of surgical procedures. So examples of that are a couple of other publications. So this year, two publications in oral surgery. So surgery in the mouth it tends to be quite a hostile environment where these types of products don't stand up particularly well. What we're seeing with Myriad is particularly good results in our oral surgery, which is great to see. Also a study in complex facial trauma. We've been able to show that the material develops a blood supply very quickly, and that's very important for healing. The other thing with Myriad in the last year is we have a new version of this product that we've recently launched, and this will begin to build incremental sales over the coming year. So what's different about Myriad? It's really breakthrough value across the board. So it restores tissue very quickly, minimal complications, and you achieve this with a single application. That's great for the surgeon. It means the surgeon is able to get the patient out of hospital quicker. That's great for the hospital as well. They also don't have to take the patient back to the operating room as often. And that's great for the patient as well. So overall, we're able to increase, reduce the number of procedures that the patient needs and save cost for the hospital and improve operating efficiencies for the hospital as well. So Symphony is a product for use in complex chronic wounds. This product is approved. We did a soft launch of this last year. There's reimbursement uncertainty in this market with some changing dynamics. So we paused the launch of that. There's a requirement now to complete a randomized controlled trial from CMS. We're a long way through a study for this. We expect to complete that in the third quarter of this calendar year and have reimbursement in place for next calendar year. We also have a product called Endoform. This is a product that you would have seen in the slides earlier, where the growth is stable, sold into the same core point, and we expect Symphony and Endoform to be very complementary, going forward. So what's different about this product is it does progress some of these very difficult to heal wounds. It's designed to close them. It takes advantage of the AROA ECM material, but also hyaluronic acid. And it's a product that fits very well with our existing product portfolio. Overtex, this is the product for use in hernia and breast reconstruction. Some very compelling clinical evidence now being developed with us. We have very low recurrence rates. So typically in complex hernia, a big complication is recurrence rates, where patients reherniate. Typically those numbers can be in the range of 20 to 30%. We're seeing reherniation rates with this product less than 5%. We also don't see the same rates of explantation of these implants as well. So it's great for the patient, also good for the hospitals in that they sometimes need to pay the cost if there's a complication further down the line. We've been expanding this portfolio for our partner TELA Bio over the last few years. In the last year, we've launched 3 new versions of this product to help build out that portfolio. TELA Bio had some headwinds this year in terms of their sales. We believe that this product, despite that, will have very based on the clinical data, it has really strong potential for the future. In terms of TELA Bio, we've estimated our revenue for them to be quite conservative and grow at a relatively moderate pace over the next 12 months. So just in terms of our strategy, the total addressable market is, as I said earlier, over $3 billion. It's really split between complex wounds, soft tissue reconstruction. So Symphony and Endoform in the complex wound market, that's about $1 billion market. And then Myriad for soft tissue reconstruction, and then Overtex for hernia and breast reconstruction. In terms of Aroa's direct sales team, we're focused on lower limb salvage and trauma and plastics, and that's a market in excess of $700 million. So large opportunity. We're only just beginning to scratch the surface of that market. We certainly think that, based on the clinical data, Myriad can be, a leader in that market in the US. Just in terms of product strategy, we've progressed from simple products to more complex products. We now see the opportunity to combine our Enivo product with Myriad and Overtex to produce a complete system of healing that allows these complex wounds to be healed much quicker and the quality of tissue to be rebuilt to be much better. And so that's sort of the rationale behind building out our Enivo platform. Just in terms of outlook, so our guidance for next year is $92 to $100 million, so a growth rate of between 10 and 20%, with Myriad growing in excess of 25%. So, we're a little bit conservative on the Overtex sales. Just want to see how they pan out over the next 12 months, but we certainly think that range, we're very comfortable with that range, and that'll give us a normalized EBITDA of between 5 and $8 million. In terms of our focus for this year, so for our Myriad direct team, very much on these large complex wounds, lower limb reconstruction, refining our value proposition around Myriad as well. So historically, it's been very much focused on the science behind why this technology works. We now have good clinical studies coming through that are prospective, that have large number of patients in them, is much more convincing for surgeons and hospitals. So really simplifying our message to show that it's really about the rate of healing, the lack of complications, and being able to achieve all of these benefits with a single application. We're very focused on deeper penetration within accounts. So, we're just beginning to work with a small number of specialties and a small number of doctors. We see a lot of opportunity within the hospitals that we're in to increase our penetration and drive sales. We're also focused on a faster sales ramp. So, from the time that we put a rep in place, being able to get to break even, shortening that up, and also increasing the sales productivity of the existing sales team. And then finally, what we're beginning to see is that as we're successful in individual hospitals, those hospitals are providing us with the opportunity to work with the owners of those hospitals in these multi-hospital systems to look at opportunities to adopt the technology within the whole hospital system. So, we see an opportunity to really scale things up with wider use in these hospital systems. So in terms of milestones for the next 12 months, continuing to demonstrate Myriad's distinctive value. This comes from clinical publications. So we have three important publications in train at the moment. So a large prospective study in trauma patients. Again, it'll probably be one of the largest published studies in trauma in the inpatient setting. A study in pilonidal sinus disease, which is a procedure that affects a relatively limited number of people, but the technique that's been developed to treat this disease, has implications across a wide range of different surgeries. And we think that's a very interesting study and could catalyze growth. And then we're doing our first burn study as well in the coming year. Securing reimbursement for Symphony in the physician's office based on our RCT is important. And then finally, converting one of these IDN systems to standardize on Myriad, we see that as a key milestone this year as well. So I'm going to leave it there, Mark, and pass things back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I might just kick off with a few questions. Just on the R&D spend, if we can just focus on that. I know there's products there you say are in various stages of development, but as the revenue scales, do you see R&D landing at a kind of 15% more normalized, let's say? I know it might spike up or down a few percent in a year, but is that kind of the target now going forward that, okay, we're profitable now. Yeah, how do we want to spend our R&D budget as a proportion of total revenue?
Yeah, so most med techs will spend between 5 and 10%
Okay.
in on R&D, and obviously when you're early stage, you're spending more. But yeah, we see that trending down towards 10%. It's certainly heading in that direction now, and with that level of expenditure on an absolute value, there's plenty of headroom there to advance the projects that we're looking to complete. So I'd set heading towards that 10% over the next couple of years.
Okay. And I know a lot of the sales are US, but rest of the world sales, I think you said it was 50 countries you've got approvals from, but was it 95% of the
Yeah,
sales come from the US? Is there maybe
yeah.
just chat about the sales, whether it's through partnerships, distributors, your own teams on the ground, depending on the market, to kind of grow that rest of the world revenue, if we say outside of the US?
Yeah. So yeah, only about 5% of sales are ex-US, and the reason for that is that we've really been sort of pretty laser focused on succeeding in the US, and that's where most of our investment's gone. So ex-US, we have been working with distributors, and so we're approved in Europe. We're having success in Germany, beginning to get going in the UK, in the Middle East. We have some distributors up and running as well, a little bit in Asia, but in South America. So we're very early in that. Those regulatory approvals are relatively recent as well. What we typically tend to do is identify distributors that are selling into the same procedures and bring those on board as distributors, and then support them either through our US operation or through the operation out of Auckland.
um, you can't have a discussion these days without talking about tariffs and
Yes.
the impacts of. So, is the product manufactured in New Zealand exported to the US, or do you have manufacturing capability on the ground in the US as well as the sales team there?
Yeah, the US is essentially a commercial organization, so we don't manufacture there. In Auckland, we have our corporate function, all of the manufacturing, quality, regulatory, marketing team. So yeah, manufacturing's done out of Auckland. We, from a tariff perspective, based on the arrangements that we have in place with our own US entity, but also with our other partner, the impact of tariffs is relatively low. So, we'll do $100 million in sales this year. It'll be, somewhere between $1 and $1.5 million in impact in terms of the tariffs.
Okay. Which, as we know, is highly dynamic and can
Yeah,
change.
highly actually. Like, yeah, today, who knows? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is, yeah, as things currently stand, yeah, there is an impact, but it's, yeah, very, very minimal.
It's
And yeah, if
it's
even
very
if some new trade agreement between New Zealand and the US gets formalized, the what shall I say, the upshot of it isn't going to be a major benefit either, one way or the other, it sounds like.
That's it's a shame to lose $1.5 million, but it's not not a showstopper.
Yeah. And in terms of the reimbursements, is the Myriad product, has that got the CMS
Yeah,
reimbursement? It does. Okay, so it's
yeah.
the
So
new products
so
which are outstanding.
yeah, that's right. So Myriad's typically used in inpatient surgical procedures, and there's a capped reimbursement for that. So the reimbursement's very straightforward. With Symphony, it's used in outpatient procedures, and so under that scheme, Symphony needs to have its own reimbursement code. We have the code, but what has happened is that the rules have changed during the course of the year in terms of what data you have in order for to be paid under the code. And so there's been quite a shift in what's happening there. So the good news about it is that it will mean that many of the competitors are likely to be knocked out of the market. And it'll only be a small number of people that have the studies that allow them to continue to be paid. So, sort of we were aware of this change coming down the line, and so we set this study up 2 years ago, anticipating that this might happen. So we think it puts us in really good shape. Once we complete the study, we go back to CMS with the data, based on what they previously required. Then we should be in good shape to secure that reimbursement.
And yeah, maybe if we just touch on competitors, who are the kind of major players in this space, whether with products in market that maybe compete with Myriad, or are kind of in trials, and are any of the big US guys trying to play in the space that you're playing in, or have an existing product that surgeons can choose yours or theirs.
Yeah. So, the main competitor in this market has been Integra Life Sciences. And so they've been well established for the last 15 to 20 years. It's an old technology, has a number of limitations that people, tend to have a high rate of complications, high rate of infection, don't get the same rate of tissue growth. So this is really, a next generation technology. They acquired a company called ACell, which has a technology that's more comparable to our own technology. The big difference we see there is just what we tend to see with Myriad is just you don't need to keep on applying it multiple times to get the same effect. So there's huge savings in that for the hospitals, but also for the patient, it's better to have one procedure rather than five procedures. So big differences in terms of what we see with Myriad compared to those competitors.
And pricing in that revenue growth, does that factor in, price increases, or is it, purely on a volume basis?
Yeah, we don't, we're sort of positioned Myriad as a affordable product in this market. So one of the constraints for adoption with this technology, it's been incredibly expensive. So our view is that with more moderate pricing, there's potential for a lot more volume and for this type of technology to be used a lot more. So the prices will remain at the where they are. There's really no pressure for us to reduce prices. We will over time be able to take some price increases. Typically we're contracted with GPOs in terms of where those prices sit. But yeah, I mean, I think, from a pricing perspective, I think we're looking at pricing stability for some time.
Okay. And that then should mean, the kind of margins that you put in the deck there, they should be also in and around the same. I'm guessing then kind of on a go forward basis as well, with a bit of economies of scale coming through as the revenue picks up.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, margins should improve. And so, we're at 86% now, which is high for this type of business. Um, for some of our products, the margins are in excess of 95%. What really holds us back is that half of the well, a little bit less than half now of our revenue comes through our partner TELA Bio. And so that's, the margins through that part of the business about 75%. So, we see over time, that blended margin going somewhere towards the high 80s, even potentially 90%.
Okay. And is the long-term plan to have the dual track sales functions, I guess, where you're working with TELA Bio on the distributor side and for certain products, but you have your own core sales team for kind of other products, and as extensions come along or totally new products maybe come into the mix, further down the line, a decision will be made. Is it better to go with TELA Bio or another partner, or actually we want to like market this product ourselves?
Yeah, I think, as we move forward, there's a couple of options. I think we certainly see, building out now that we've built out our own sales organization, future products being put in the hands of our existing sales organization. That's incredibly helpful for us. For hernia and breast recon, that's a long-standing arrangement with TELA Bio. We don't see that changing significantly in the future. But, outside of that, there may be, it's a platform technology that has lots of applications in different areas of tissue regeneration. So there may be other opportunities to do partnership arrangements in medical specialties where we're not likely to have a presence with our own sales team.
Okay. Would burns be one of those? I mean, it's quite a,
Uh, yeah.
you talk about trauma, is car accidents and gunshots, obviously
Mm, mm,
gunshots injuries high in the US, but maybe not so much in New Zealand, Australia, Germany,
mm,
UK
mm.
by comparison. But burns, globally is like, a huge market, and not not an insignificant specialty to be involved in.
Yeah, burns is a relatively new market segment for us. And so, it's a market where there's different technologies are used for specific regions. There's quite a wide range of different sorts of burns. And so we have recently undertaken a study using Myriad in burns of indeterminate thickness. And so these are, not quite full thickness burns, but quite severe burns. And so we've seen some good early results there. And kind of pretty much what we've seen in other in other procedures. So it's really about that rate of tissue repair and the quality of the tissue. So we do see an opportunity there. It's not our key focus in the short term, but I think maybe in the medium term, an opportunity there.
Okay, perfect. Brian, oh, pardon me, we've gone slightly over time, and I know that these results only come out yesterday, so I'm sure you've got a full calendar, and I don't want to be making you late for your next appointment. But thank you very much for joining us, and yeah, we'll keep an eye on announcements over the course of FY26 you're going into, and hopefully we can get you back on at some point in the future.
Great. Thanks very much, Mark. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Brian, and thanks to everyone for joining us this morning. And I wish everybody a good weekend. Thank you.